All right, last talk of the day. We have Sunando Bhattacharya, CEO of IndiQus, to give his talk on the curious case of cloud repatriation. Let's give it up for Sunando.
Thank you, Rohit. So I'm the guy between you guys and some beer. So what I'll try to do is keep it very interesting. Some of the stuff I'm going to talk about is controversial, to say the least. But I've been following this for last couple of years and seeing some very interesting trends. So I thought let's talk about something different this time. And so here goes. Before I start, a bit about me. That's my family, beautiful wife and twin daughters. We are based in New Delhi, India. As Rohit said, I run a company called IndiQus, so that's my team. We met up earlier this year after a gap of 3 years in a beautiful jungle in India called Corbett. And if you ask about my one-line introduction, I'm a passionate biker, and I love going to all the highest places in India. This year I went up to the highest place in the world by road, which is called Umlingla, sometime in September this year. Okay, so what happened in the in the last, I would say, 6 to 8 years, is there was a great migration which happened to all the hyperscale providers. AWS started the trend, Azure and Google came in right behind, and everybody was just moving everything to the cloud. Every CIO's number one agenda, once they got comfortable with their security concerns with cloud, that move everything to the cloud. And it was literally a herd mentality, because my friend who was a CIO is doing it, therefore I will also do it. Just pick up everything that's running fine in my data center and move it to the cloud because of what I call the promised land. It was just, to me, it was nothing more than a marketing spiel which was coming to them, that you get everything on demand, you pay as you go, there's no capex, you have unlimited scalability. You can just scale up hundreds of servers very quickly, and everything, your entire infrastructure is fully managed. So everybody fell for this, and this really got caught on, and that's the reason why Amazon and Azure and Google and other hyperscalers have massively built their business, and it's still going on as we speak. It's not stopped, right? But something very interesting happened in May 2021. A very big VC out of the valley called Andreessen Horowitz came up with this article, which is called The Cost of Cloud, a $1 trillion paradox. And they came up with some very, very key points in this article. First and foremost, all the big tech startups, they were having a very large part of their expenses or their entire spends on cloud infrastructure. And all of it was going on the big hyperscale cloud providers. Then they gave a case study of Dropbox. Simon referred to this during his keynote yesterday, where Dropbox, by simply moving their entire storage off Amazon to a private cloud, increased their margins by a factor of 34%. And that's a direct contribution to your bottom line. It's not an increase in revenue, it's an increase in margin. And if you look at any PE multiple out there in the market of 20, that means their valuation will go up 20 times of that saving, straight out, right to the bottom line. Then there was another analysis which was very similar. So this was not a one-off case. What was also shown that there is a direct correlation of the revenue multiple of a company on the stock market or from the other private capital markets with the gross margins, which means that the more you add to your gross margins, the higher is your company valuation. So here we're just not simply talking about saving money or saving dollars. We are actually talking about how valuable your company is becoming with that saving. So if you correlate this case study with this analysis, it's a simple outcome that every penny that you're saving, it's adding a factor of at least 20x to your valuation in the market. Okay, so why is cloud migration reversing. And Forbes did a very interesting blog on this. I forget the name of the author of this blog. So there are a few factors which is leading to this cloud reverse migration. So if you look at the trend early or mid 2000s, or 2010 to 15 or 20, the cost of cloud services were dropping very fast. Amazon, Azure, Google, they were dropping their cloud prices every 6 months, every 9 months. That trend just stopped. Now the price revisions are not happening so frequently, and the quantum of price revisions have also stopped coming down so drastically. The total cost of public cloud is rising because not just infrastructure, there's a lot of other lock-ins which are coming in through function as a service, data feeds, network costs, and all these things are going up as application designs are getting more distributed, multi-region, multi-zone, etc. And therefore, the reverse migration, what people are seeing are mostly happening in larger companies, although it will be equally beneficial even for mid-sized companies. I won't say so much for small companies, but mid-sized companies that tend to also save a similar amount of money. And to me, I'll just reverberate what Simon said yesterday, the hybrid is the new way. Everything is all about hybrid, and people have to really take hybrid cloud culture as the way forward. Couple of more examples which came up. It's just not one of Dropbox. Pre-render, they stated that how they reduced their server costs by 80% from $1 million to $200K by moving away from AWS. And 37 Signals, the guys behind Basecamp and Hey, very nicely written blog on why they're leaving the cloud. So the large tech companies are coming out in the open and talking about it because they are seeing these savings. So what's really happening over here? So if you go back to the promised land, one of the biggest things that people were talking about, or the cloud providers were talking about, is unlimited scalability. But do you really need that? As an enterprise workload management infrastructure, do you really need that for everything? In our analysis, not more than 20% workload that any company is running, on an average, is spiky, unpredictable user traffic, where suddenly from 100 users, it'll go to 100,000 users. There are very, very limited use cases for that in a standard enterprise environment. And I'm not talking about e-commerce companies who are running flash sales and those kind of things. I'm talking about enterprises who are running their enterprise apps on the cloud. 80% of the workload is stable, and the growth is very, very predictable. How the users will grow, it's very easy to estimate because there is enough historical data over there. So does it really make sense to pay for that scalability when you don't really need it for 80% of the workload? So this 80% is your candidate for repatriation, not everything. Any workload that still needs that unpredictable, on-demand infrastructure, you are better off running that on a public cloud, on a hyperscaler, somewhere where you do get that limitless scalability. But anything that's stable, you know the usage patterns, you know how to manage that workload, you're much better off repatriating it to a private cloud. So this is a case study we did in India for one of our customers. And this is why I was saying that it does not only apply to large companies, but even a small ISP in India who was just spending $30,000 a month, very small amount. When we moved them to a private cloud, there was a 60% reduction in their monthly costs. And this by spending just about $100,000 on CapEx, they were able to pull it down. And they're getting better performance, more security, better control on the service, and saving 60% on their monthly costs. So why am I really talking about it? I see there's a huge opportunity for managed service providers over here. If you go and fight the public cloud battle as a public cloud or a commodity cloud provider, you will be outfoxed by the hyperscalers. They have better services, they have more variety of products, they have better marketing dollars with them. I feel that managed cloud service providers should look at specific niches to go out and sell to, And this is one of the niches every MSP should focus on, which is providing managed private clouds. Why? Now, if you look at the cloud, private cloud space a few years back, everybody was doing it on VMware, and VMware comes at a certain price point. But moment people have gone to the public cloud, and now you want to repatriate them, you have to show them significant cost benefits also. Technology is great, everything is great, but people will take the pain of repatriation only when there is a significant cost benefit. And to do that, you have no option but to adopt an open source platform. So your IaaS stack has to be open source based, and that's where CloudStack comes in and allows you to build everything on an open source platform. You can look at partnering with data center providers, hosting providers, people like Equinix who give bare metal on OpEx, or even go to people like HPE who are with the GreenLake program are giving you entire hardware bare metal on OpEx, and essentially make the entire solution on OpEx for your customers. So what you're doing is you're giving the customer still the benefits of going to the public cloud, which is avoiding CapEx, but cutting that entire cost down by bringing in a model which is completely managed and dedicated for him. The managed services part is very critical, because now that enterprise customer has got used to having everything managed for him. He doesn't want to rebuild an infrastructure services team in-house. So therefore, that's really the opportunity for you. If you can build a private cloud, give everything on OpEx and manage it, essentially give him that private cloud on an SLA hosted in your data center or in a partner data center, you're giving him the best of both worlds. You're giving him the cost savings, but giving him all the comfort that he was getting from a public cloud service. Own the service, deliver it as an end-to-end solution to the customer, and most importantly, build for use cases. Don't have a single design, a single architecture for everyone. If a customer has SAP workloads, it needs a different architecture. If the customer is running Oracle, it needs a different architecture. Every workload, every design will need a different architecture. So you have to build. The benefit of doing private clouds is you can actually design and build for use cases, and that will really give you the best performance to your customers. So that's where the edge you have over your competitors. Okay, so why CloudStack? The benefits which we see. Multi-hypervisor is something that really works over here. There are some applications which specify that we need ESXi as a hypervisor. You just cannot get away from it. So if you have a multi-hypervisor design, you can deploy a small cluster on ESXi, let's say 30% of the cloud on ESXi and 70% on KVM, and still manage it from a single pane of glass, which is CloudStack. So that really becomes a very big benefit. Then the multiple storage options. We have a couple of storage providers here, Linbit and Storepool. Then you have Dell, you have NetApp. There are many storage providers which are now building plugins for CloudStack. With all these storage plugins being available, you can really automate the storage functions. And the way I see it, the power or the success of a cloud, 70 to 80% is driven by performance of the storage. If you have a high-performant, good quality, resilient storage, the cloud will do well in most cases, because network has become very generic. Yes, there are NFV functionalities which come in at play, but essentially storage is the make or break in most clouds. And then the ease of management. Getting a cloud stack up is very easy, as we all know. Upgrading it is very easy. I know people who have deployed OpenStack 4 years back and they've never even had the guts to go and upgrade it because they don't want to take on the pain. So maintaining and keeping it up to date, consuming through a UI, consuming it through an API, and ready for automation. There are ready Terraform playbooks, Ansible playbooks for CloudStack. So all the benefits which the user, and from the user experience perspective, what they were getting on a public cloud, you can essentially deliver all that from CloudStack itself. Okay, that's my talk. Any questions?
Thank you, Sunando. Any questions from the audience?
Great talk. Thank you, Sunando. What do you think is the root cause of this repatriation?
Okay, so I've spoken to a few CIOs and I've spoken to a few CFOs also. So when the initial marketing blitz happened, public cloud was positioned as a competitive advantage, even in front of the CFOs. The agility and ability to go and build quickly and deploy quickly was positioned as a competitive advantage. But the cost of that competitive advantage was not known. Moment you go to a public cloud, your engineers have power. You essentially lose a lot of governance, right? Engineers have power to go and switch on 64-core, 2 terabyte machines, and that itself will run up a bill of $5,000 suddenly, and you have no control on that. So CFOs have started realizing that, okay, I budgeted $100,000 a year for my cloud, but I'm spending $250,000 because new costs, hidden costs are coming up. So then they started questioning the IT guys, and they also started realizing that what I really need is ease of use and management and avoidance of CapEx, which I can manage with other solutions. And the true benefit of cloud is really scalability, that unlimited scalability. And if I can just keep the workloads there, that'll do it. So therefore, that realization is coming in. There are enough people who are still saying that it's too early days and people are still, so there are more people moving to the cloud than coming back, but it's a journey, and I think in the next 3-4 years, it'll turn the full circle and the hybrid architecture. So to say that public clouds are not going anywhere, they are important. The hyperscalers are doing some great stuff in their clouds, the kind of services they are offering. It's very tough for small cloud providers to do that. But in future, it has got to be hybrid.
Sunando, absolutely great talk. It's great to see more data as well, and you can see we were taking a lot of pictures. One question for you. Obviously, I think all of us are in sync here that a lot of workloads are probably going to be going towards a hybrid use case. Yep. So from your perspective, what do you think CloudStack should be doing to better support the hybrid work environment?
Okay, so 2-3 scenarios. I think one we've spoken about already with you is the shared block storage that really will solve a lot of problems for enterprise customers, and one of the reasons where one of the use cases which we have not been able to address. DR as a service, I think that's a big use case where they just want to run the DR on a public cloud and the primary production on a private cloud and automate that with any kind of service. I think these are two cases that we see very often. I think CloudStack, if they build these features, it will be pretty good.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
Do you think the hyperscalers have visibility? Well, I'm guessing they do have visibility of this. And I mean, we heard the guys from AWS yesterday talking about EKS Anywhere, which is a product which is designed to be using their technology in your own data center. Do you think those sort of plays by the hyperscalers could be attributed to being a reaction to what they see, a defensive play against this sort of stuff?
I don't see it as a defensive play. I see it more as a cooperative play. They have the great tech. They want people to use their tech, but run it in a private cloud. All these guys also have their own, sort of private cloud plays, Outpost from AWS and Azure Stack and all, but they come at a huge price. They're not meant for everybody, right? I checked out a price point. They're like $2 million and $3 million kind of. They're only meant for big providers, right? As 5G becomes more common, edge becomes more common, they will want to get into this play and get deeper and deeper into smaller territories.
Excellent. Any other questions from the audience before we take, I see one online question. Okay. Right. So we have one online question, Sunando, which is, what can the CloudStack community and the wider ecosystem do to capture if there is really a cloud repatriation?
Yeah, just go and have these conversations with your customer. CloudStack has always been a very good private cloud management suite from day one. We have been on CloudStack for 9.5 years now, and from day one, it does private cloud very well. couple of stuff which I just mentioned, if we can get those in, that'll be amazing. It's just about going and having these conversations. And one tip, wherever we have succeeded in these conversations, it's either with the CEO or with the CFO. You can't convince the CIO on repatriation. That conversation can't start from there. It has to be with the CEO or the CFO. These are the guys who will understand what you're talking about. And then they will convince the CIO.
Excellent and great advice there, Sunando. And thank you again for the talk. The audience who have joined us online and audience who is with us in Sofia. Let's give a round of applause to Sunando.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.